Appreciate everybody being here. Want to say thanks to our fans that traveled to Tampa this past weekend. They certainly had an impact on us, made a great impression on our players, and they're very grateful for that. And looking forward to seeing a bunch of them, seeing all of them pack up Hard Rock this Friday night. But again, right to work, right shorter week, I should say, for our guys, and we have an opportunity to open up conference play against one of our storied rivals. Can't say enough about them. I think we've seen enough tape to know these guys are as talented as anybody that we have faced, and then some, especially talented up front, very powerful, explosive, twitchy, top 10 in sacks in the country for a reason, and they're deep. They've got all kinds of, they play their base stuff, but they also have significant amount of exotic pressures in our high-pressure organization. They're very organized. They're really good tacklers. On defense, they're long, a lot of athletic ability, a lot of speed. They do a good job on the back end, one of the top cover teams in the country. And then they're, again, complemented by awesome special teams, as Virginia Tech always is. And offensively, I think, you've all seen it. I mean, this is a team that returns 20, I believe, of 22 starters from last year's team. One of the favorites, not only to win the conference, but to be in the college football playoff. They're loaded. They're a loaded football team, and their quarterback is an extremely explosive, dangerous, accurate player, a great leader, and they're big, massive up front, great running game, explosive receivers. Looking forward to a great matchup. So questions, please.
You spoke on the radio this morning about playing angry, staying angry. When things are going as well as they are right now, how does a team keep that? How difficult is it to keep that edge? When I know there's correctables on the film, Cam was very open about saying that we leave stuff out there. You're very open about it. How does a team keep that edge when stuff's going on?
I think leadership at every level, especially in the locker room. I think the guys have adopted that mantra because it kind of goes back to what they decided a while back. They felt like they've had enough. They've had enough of all the stuff been hearing for a couple of decades. And even though some of them weren't from here or didn't know much about it, they've learned it. And I think they've also realized that positive anger is that energy that burns clean. It just keeps going. It's almost an endless supply of juice, and it's real. There's no gimmicks to it. There's just watching that film, knowing that there's a standard, we haven't achieved it yet, and that there's room to grow, but we feel we can achieve it. So full throttle, foot on the gas.
If I could, and you've made some references to this over the last couple of years, especially, but the moves, the strides that the program has made academically, how does that translate into just, I don't want to say smarter kids or smarter football players, but how does that side translate into making the right decision at critical moments?
We feel it's completely tied in. I mean, it's you are what you are 24/7. I don't think you can Jekyll and Hyde much in life, right? You can't. I'm not saying I play with perfect citizens. We were, a little bit here and there, but I think the advances in football, it's so much more complicated now. The demands, the rigors that come with it, with the regiment, you have to have just Class A, top-notch human beings that understand betterment, understand being a high achiever in all things. So, I mean, that's 5 successive semesters where our GPA has broken the previous semester and team record from a GPA standpoint. Jessica Lopez is I refer to her as a coach. She's our director of academic student services, associate AD. She is the best in the business, was super impactful for us out there at Oregon, and she's gone above and beyond here. And that's a direct correlation to improvement on the field because, it becomes part of your DNA. You refuse to lose and you refuse to settle for anything but your best.
With Ruben, I know you said on the radio that looked like there's a chance for him to play this week. The last 3 weeks when he wasn't out there, but still during the warm-ups, you see him working with Cole and some of the other young guys. Just what does it say about him, his work ethic, his demeanor to help you guys even when he can't play?
Well, I mean, he wants to be there, and if he can't contribute physically or like he hasn't been the last 3 weeks, hopefully we do have him this week. He wants to, in some way, shape, or form, impact the team in a positive way. So throughout the course of the week, in the previous weeks, he has gotten some work, but when he hasn't been able to work, he's right there with those guys. He's with them in the film room. He's spending extra time with them. So he cares about Miami. He cares about his teammates. So he's had a really positive impact.
Mario, how do you balance, I guess, talking about the team's edge? Like, it seems like they're having fun, like whether it's, doing the gator jump at UF or, dancing against USF and stuff like that. How do you have the team balance, like, playing with that edge and that kind of swagger and fun without, like, doing things that'll get you a penalty or do anything dumb?
Well, I don't know if there's a balance. Just don't get penalized. Play really, really hard. Make sure you play to a standard, and know that there's nothing post snap that can help you. Unless you draw it from the other team. And so you don't want to completely, man, hard to find the word to use, but you know what I'm talking about. You want a team that really enjoys playing a physical brand, a very passionate brand of football that plays with great energy, that is relentless, and that plays for each other, and get better at, not going overboard, regardless of, whether you're being antagonized or whatnot. Just keep playing football, play to the Miami standard.
Mario, this town has obviously acknowledged, this town obviously and fans acknowledging the play and noticing you guys, playing fun football, playing great football, top 10 football. How important is it for, to keep that atmosphere for fans to come pack the Rock now, and especially in prime time on Friday?
Yeah, I think they're excited. I mean, you could feel it. You could feel it when we were in Gainesville, that the swarm of people that were out there. And we felt that this past week we looked to our sideline, and that was all orange and green, and they stayed there for the entire time. They really enjoyed it. I think they're witnessing a tremendous step for the program, one that we intend to continue ascending on, and I think they also get to see some really unique personalities and some special players that maybe haven't existed in Miami football in the last several years, and they're very personable, affable guys that love this community, that have done a lot of community service work, so their faces are very recognizable. There's a lot of local players on this team that were Little League like legends that are now becoming prominent players in our program. So I think the bond of the University of Miami football team is, I think, revived and once again becoming very real with the community. And that's, it's a reason why I wanted to come here as a player, because when that thing reaches a certain level of strength and power, it's unmatched. It's a great thing for the community. It changes the demeanor of our city and our people.
And just following up on what you said of having special players, obviously Cam named ACC quarterback of the week. Sometimes here in Florida, having a player like that and being able to do the things that he does, just a little bit more about what he's been able to bring, and help also with the rest of his teammates.
Yeah, Miami, tends to gravitate towards certain personalities, right? I mean, you've seen it, Don Shula, Bob Greasy, Dan Marino, right? LeBron James. I mean, there's been so many great athletes to go through here. Should I mention Joe Rose? You kind of get sensitive if I don't mention Joe Rose. But so what happens is that these guys are, I guess they're handling it well, because again, they're back to your question. They're staying focused and the right type of mad. So their humility kind of shines through all the progress. And the most important thing is they know that we're playing a great football team this weekend. And they know it's the most important and the biggest game on our schedule right now. And so all focus is on that, and we're going to stay that course.
With the short week, just what are the challenges that present? Are there any big adjustments? And then happy early birthday as well.
Well, it's you almost put in perspective. In the NFL, they play on Sunday and then back on Thursday. We get scooched up a day, but we've had enough experience over the years and some really good regiments and blueprints for weeks like this on how to get the adequate rest and at the same time not miss out on the critical reps, when to really, knock each other around in pads and when to pull away from that. And I think we've established a good balance there. And then the coaches just gotta, you gotta suck it up. You gotta put in the hours that you miss on that Sunday. You gotta take those 24 hours and somehow plug them all in to the days of work leading up to, your real action plan days of practice. And we've done that, so we feel very confident in our processes and looking forward to playing a great football team.
And then with Isaiah Horgan, just want to ask you, had a kind of breakout game of sorts, last week.
What's that? I'm sorry.
With Isaiah Horton, just
Right.
how much have you seen him grow from when he got here to now, following that matchup?
I think you've all you guys have seen that from him. I mean, that guy, he's changed his body, he's changed his demeanor. He's always been a hard worker. It just, everyone wants things to be like really quick, to happen right away. And he has had the natural progression of an excellent college football player, where he's changed his body, he's changed his mindset. And I think it's neat for him, guys like that got here when things were rough and you had to go through it and you had to endure and you had to learn and had to eat the tough moments. That's invaluable. I always think those guys, their experience is more valuable for life and all the things that come with it. And he's been through that, and now he's seeing the benefits of having gone through that and having success. And he's another guy that's really, really hungry for more. So very driven guy, awesome family, just Class A people that have raised an awesome young man. And he's another one that we feel is just getting started.
With the first two possessions in the second half, to come out and get the stop, and then come down and make it a 2-score game. It just felt like you could just dictate everything at that point. Just those 4 or 5 minutes, how important were they to that launch of that? What the second half became?
Well, I think our score before halftime, and then the defense, we have them in 3rd and long, but they hit a screen, but yet they hold up there. They jump off sides on the field goal. Then they miss the field goal. Then we get the stop coming out. Then we score, stop them, score again, and that's where the separation occurred. So, again, I've mentioned the defense a bunch, and I want to mention them more. The way that they adjusted and continued just making the tweaks necessary to get off the field against a high-octane offense like that was the ultimate difference maker, and in turn led way to what you were just mentioning.
We all talk about the offensive line a lot, out of respect, of course, for your background, but you're just so much more athletic in the interior of the defensive line than we've seen around here in a long time. How much of a concentration was that, and what's the ceiling for that group? Because
For the offensive line?
for the defense, the interior of the defensive line, you've got so much. You're very athletic, you're very long, and USF can move. They just could not run the ball, and that's their strength. And when you took that away, you took it away, and you made it look easy. And you've done that kind of, all year. What's the ceiling for that group?
Man, I think we're layered the right way. I think we have some seasoned veterans that have played a lot of football and have had a lot of success at different places and here. And then behind them are some high caliber, talented guys that are starting to show they're really good players and that have really, really bright futures. So we're capable of, using that depth and rolling them in there and keeping the competition levels high. But we can run, we can bend. We're certainly getting better. We're playing harder. They want more. They do. They want more. They want to be challenged. I think practice every day. I think practice is the best thing we do. I really do. I think the best thing we do is, and I think the best thing a coach can do really is to put together an organized, efficient, challenging practice to make sure guys are actually really getting better at their craft and that a team learns how to play, to each other's strengths and with one another. And I think that's starting to show up more and more. But we got a long ways to go. We got to get a whole lot better, and with a big challenge coming in here on Friday.
Mario, outside of Jordan Lyle's long run on Saturday, you guys think average about 3 and change in the rushing game. Damian, had a couple short touchdowns, obviously, but him and Mark didn't really break off any big runs. Just what have you seen with the running game? Is it, I guess maybe felt a little bit slower than you would normally like the last 2 weeks?
Well, I think especially when you compare it to the success of the passing game has been really, really explosive. And the running game has been solid to good, and we haven't had as many opportunities at it. But we're very confident in it. We've got good blockers. We've got good backs. I think we're really close to putting it all together. And there are some bright spots and some other times where, you certainly want more. It hasn't been as flashy, but I don't think we're interested in flash. We want to win football games, and whatever it takes to make sure we move the sticks and score points, we're going to do.
And just what have you seen from Matthew McCoy, has taken over that role at left guard with Ryan Rodriguez out, put up pretty solid, grades on PFF, looked pretty solid at that position. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, that guy is tough, man. That guy's tough. That guy was basically a power forward that took on football and just started growing and eating and growing and eating and lifting. and just jumped into that O-line culture that Coach Mirabal does such an awesome job with, and has become just a very resilient, hardworking, completely bought in, get after you every single play, athletic, bendy, twisty guy. That this guy's got a big future, man. This guy is, if you could sign 3 Matt McCoys every single year, it's a home run. The guy is from top to bottom, inside and out. It's exactly what you want. Awesome family, awesome parents. He's probably the 3rd best athlete in his family. The parents and the sister are better athletes than him. We always kid him about that, but yeah, he's the right kind of guy, and another reason why our team and our offense is progressing at the rate it is.
A few more.
You mentioned Jalen and Ruben. You talked possibly coming back Friday. Just any update on the progress for like Damari Brown and Ryan Rodriguez?
A little bit longer for those guys. I know what going to play some of that close to the vest as we receive some more stuff. Just because I think it's it's the right thing. It's for them and for us.
You mentioned some leaders kind of keeping the team level-headed and things like that. Obviously, Cam Ward and Kiko Malinos of the world. Who are some other guys in that locker room who are kind of taking that leadership role?
Francis, big CC. He doesn't talk a whole bunch, but when he does, you feel all 6'6", 335 of it. Because it comes from the heart. He's not going to be outworked in practice. He came in really talented, but his level of play this year, as compared to last year, it's 2 different planets. That guy's playing at an extremely high level because he works at it, and then when the lights come on, he goes after it with everything in his body and soul. So I think he was very impactful in the locker room on Saturday, and it's great. He's part of the leadership council. I think Zach Carpenter is another one that stands out. Akeem Mesidor. We talked about Kiko. I think Mish Powell is an excellent leader. Cam Ward, we've mentioned him a bunch. Elijah Arroyo has done an excellent job. No one mentions Andy because, we're scoring touchdowns, but he's knocking just about every ball out of the end zone as well, hitting his field goals and extra points. And there's, again, the best part about the team is they work really hard and they do a good job leading.
You talked a lot about guys are earning playing time in practice, and you're playing a lot of guys, obviously. In the NBA, they call it shortening the rotation. Does the bar for playing time get a little higher now that you're in conference, or are you hoping, excuse me, that it stays this way?
They got to set the bar. I can't orchestrate it or fake it. It is what it is. When we go in there and watch film, they know. You put in the first 3 or 4 clips, and if the standard isn't met, they know there's something that comes with that. It's the only fair way to improve your team. And we met as a staff and mentioned it, and also mentioned to the players, the only way to keep a team in a mindset of getting better is to make competition real. Not created, not orchestrated, but legitimately have great, tough-minded, resilient, hardworking guys going, trying to improve each other and being the best they can be. Not so much taking this job, taking that guy's job. I don't know. Here, competition has been welcomed. And if you sat in the running back room, I think that epitomizes that whole concept. And it's made us so much better. And you're seeing it every week. It's somebody different is hitting it for us. And now you're starting to see it in the wide receiver room. The D-line room is starting to have its spurts. You mentioned guys like Matt McCoy-Sampson played some the other night as well. You're seeing more and more guys make plays. And you're seeing on the other side of the field, when they make a play, the same position group going nuts, going bananas for their teammate. That's a good sign. So we want to keep emphasizing that and keep it going.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Well done. Straight into questions for offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. Isaiah Horgan, I think we talked about a couple weeks ago, just to see the game that he had and the progression that he's had over since last year. Just what strides have you seen, and what was it like for you to be able to see him have a game like he had last week?
Which guy?
Isaiah Horgan.
Oh yeah, he's obviously got that potential. He just gets opportunities, the more opportunities he gets, the more plays he'll make. I mean, talented, very talented dude. I think that I go to this all the time with that group and a lot of groups, but just do what you do, stay positive, and when you get your opportunity, make a play, right? I mean, there's going to be games where you catch 100 and games where you catch 30, so, I mean, find ways to affect the game, right? And he does. He affects the game. He plays hard every snap. And then when he gets opportunities, obviously he can make plays. So that's awesome to see.
Shannon, along those lines, Sam Brown, obviously came here for a reason with very big expectations, and he got here late. It's been a little slow coming for him, but how big was that catch the other day, and do you see that propelling him from?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he needed that. To be honest with you, I mean, he needed to make a big play because that's who he is. He's a guy that can make plays down the field. So to see him make that play, and he's going to make a lot of plays like that. And so, he did get here late, and so it was a little bit different for him because heck, he didn't even start camp, right? And so but it's good to see him make a play. He can make a lot of them.
Offense went 5 of 5 red zone touchdowns. How pleased are you with just the year-over-year improvement in that facet, and what has led to improved success?
I think when you get down there, the field gets smaller, so running the ball obviously helps, and so we can get in some nagging distance yardage, If we get some yards on first down, then we're 2nd and 6, 2nd and 3. You can do a lot of things when you're in those situations. So, the closer you get, obviously the more focused you have to be executing pass game because you don't have a lot of space. And so, but both of those really work together. If they're so obsessed with stopping the run, which they were, then we can get some one-on-one throws out there, and we got to, and in those situations, you got to make a good throw and give them a chance and make a play. But that was a huge emphasis. We want touchdowns over field goals, and it hadn't always happened this year, but it happened Saturday, which was good.
Speaking of teams stopping the run, it seems like Damien and Mark in particular haven't really had a lot of explosive plays the last 2 weeks. Jordan Lyle and AJ Allen the last 2 weeks broken out some explosives, but especially early in the games the last 2 weeks, not a lot of explosiveness in the running games. What have you seen from what's going on with that?
Well, they came out and they put everybody in the box, which was kind of shocking to me, but that was whatever, to me. And I know that, you look at stats and you look at everything, but I think we're good at both, and you pick your poison. Which one do you want to defend? If you want to do what South Florida did and put everybody in the box and play man coverage, then we're probably not going to have a lot of explosive runs, Now, later in the game, whenever we were trying to lean on them a little bit, I just took my foot off the gas and was like, they can play man coverage now, but let's get big and lean on them. Obviously, we can do that too, but yeah, when they come out and put everybody in there, then you kind of, played my hand there a little bit, right? And so we kind of got to adjust the game plan a little bit and go to more man beaters.
Are you pleased with how the running is going this season in general when the box numbers are advantageous for running?
I am. I think that we can obviously get better in both, to be quite honest with you. We threw for a lot of yards Saturday, but we missed a handful too, so it's not like one side is polished and in perfection either. But I do think that there's some things that we can do better in the run game, when they do give us the numbers, and when they do, typically as the game goes on, and you can look back at Ball State, and as the game went on and they started moving the mic out of the box, Fletcher hit a 40-yarder, and so, it's just one of those things where you just got to stick with it, and our guys are talented, so if they get some grass, they're going to make a play.
Just early thoughts on, Virginia Tech's defense and kind of the challenge they present to you guys?
They're very physical. They got a lot of returning starters. They've played a ton of ball together. D-line wise, 52 leads the conference in sacks. Not that we've had a lot of conference games, but at this point, their ability to get to the quarterback and affect the quarterback has been proven. And so they're very active. They're aggressive. Again, they're one of those defenses that, kind of obsess about stopping the run. And their safeties are get downhill and get active in the run game. So we got to do a good job at receiver at digging those guys out and blocking the 7th guy and sometimes 8th guy at times. But they are very aggressive and physical. I mean, it'll be our biggest challenge to date, to be honest with you.
You got up 2 touchdowns in the second half.
Do what now?
When you got up 2 scores
Yep.
on Saturday, USF did what you would expect them to do. The corner would gamble. They're trying to make plays.
Yeah.
How do you explain how Cam handles those moments? I mean, I know some of it's film and recognition, but how much of it is just natural, like the ability to stay calm and see it? And
Yeah.
you can't really teach that, I don't think, or can you?
No, I mean he sees things in the back end that most people don't see, to be honest with you. I mean, that specific play you're probably talking about, the throw to Sam, I mean, that corner misstepped, and I mean, and I asked him when we were watching that tape, and basically that's what he saw. The corner made a mistake, and he stepped up and triggered cover 2 to us, and he knew it was coming in. Now, they do try to disguise cover 2 a lot. South Florida does, and through film study, a lot of times when you try to disguise it really good, the safety don't get to where he needs to get. And so that was one of those things that we talked about through the week, that if we could catch them in cover 2 and they were really trying to disguise it, we could take advantage of it, but sometimes those opportunities don't come up in a game. It came up on that specific play, which was good because we really needed it, right? I mean, we really needed that play.
What's going through your mind when you call a play and Cam goes up to the line of scrimmage and starts pointing and telling the guys exactly where the play is coming? And then,
I didn't really see that in real time.
And then it works.
Yeah. I didn't really see that in real time. But that's, that kind of answers your question earlier. I mean, I look at things through a different set of glasses when we talk about run game, because that specifically, I mean, we get down there and, they pretty much know we're running it, and we know we're running it, and he tells them where we're running it, and our O-line just blows them off the ball, So, I mean, we can be physical too, and so, but I didn't see that in real time. I saw it on film, so it's just one of those deals.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I guess.
Just as you guys get into conference play, 4 games under your belt, just what have you learned about this offense that maybe you didn't know about them going into the season?
I mean, we're a veteran bunch, and we really do stay focused in the moment, and that's one thing that as coaches we preach, because ultimately when the game is done, that's over with. No matter how good or how bad you do, you gotta treat Sunday like Sunday and Monday like Monday. And so we do have a lot of guys that stay tunnel visioned on the moment, and I think that carries over to preparations during the week, and I think it carries over to in the game whenever bad things go bad. So just like the pick we threw, right? And, and he's going to catch that 99% of the time, but we didn't in that specific moment. We threw a pick. The defense obviously has to go out there. We put them in a bad place. Our guys go over there, and it's just on to the next play. And I appreciate that, because there's no panic. There's no, pointing fingers. It's just, hey, it is what it is. It's over. Move forward and play the next play. What are we going to do the next drive? And so we have a bunch of guys on offense that really do get over the previous drive, the previous play, no matter how good or how bad it was, and they just move on to the next play. They don't get affected by much, which is what you want to see. You don't want to see up and down. You want to see people kind of stay in the middle and just execute,
Number
just
one.
block the emotions out.
I think you're number 1 right now in third down offense and 20-plus yards gains on the year. Is that typical to see efficiency and explosiveness like that tied together?
I don't know. I would have to look back at years to see. I mean, the third down stuff is partly, receivers getting open, and partly, at times Cam can scramble around and get a first down, which is both. You got to have both. If you're going to be good on third down, because defenses spend a lot of their time on third down. So they're going to get exotic. You're going to see things that you haven't necessarily seen on tape. You know, so there's a chance that everybody gets covered, you know, and it's one thing about third downs that, like, I'm going to state the obvious, but it's the truth. It's the last down. So treat it like it's the last down, meaning that, like, whatever you got to do to get the first down, get the first down. And I appreciate guys straining on third down because ultimately it is the last down and it needs to be treated as the last down. And so there's nothing more frustrating than not treating it like the last down. You know, and it happens a lot. You see it happen a lot. And so you got to scratch and claw our guys' eyes out on third down because we need another set of downs. And so I do think that that is a product of guys out there understanding that, hey, I got to do my job at the highest level, heightened sense of everything because this is the last down. And so it's both of them play. Now, the explosive play deal is more, you know, once guys get the ball in their hand, there's nothing – you know, the play, in my opinion, the scheme of the play is over. That's, you know, genetics and recruiting take over then, you know.
Cam's mentioned, I think, you know, maybe once or twice during the year so far that you guys have been doing a lot of routine stuff on offense and executing it very well. How much now that ACC play is about to get started, do you anticipate maybe going to some of the less routine stuff, maybe open up the playbook and some bag of tricks a little bit more?
I think look, there's always going to be, I believe to my core that routine plays win games. I say that a lot, and I'll always believe that. And there's a tipping point of, like, hey, being cute and creative and executing football. You know, a lot of times, you know, as the season goes, I mean, defenses know what you're good at. We know what they're good at. You know, if you don't have some kind of trend, then you're probably not good on either side. Like, you know, that's just facts. And so, yeah, we're going to try to break trends, and we're going to try to do some things that are creative every week. But there's going to be a majority of our game plan that is just trying to window dress what we do the best. And that's just the way football is. Everybody's really like that. And you try to, like, see, okay, well, we've done this a couple of times. Maybe we can do that off of that. Little wrinkles, absolutely. Those things happen. But I'm a firm believer in, hey, routine plays win games. You watch games every weekend, NFL and college. A lot of the plays, 90% of them are routine plays. You know, it's the 10% or 5% that gets on SportsCenter and Twitter that everybody gets excited about, right? And they want to dissect it. That don't excite me. Like, what excites me is throwing a hook route or throwing a cross route and throwing it on time and hitting them, or throwing an option route. Like, that excites me more than the other stuff, to be honest.
I was going to ask, do you get excited? Do you have a good time saying, like, hey, you pull one out of the bag or out of the back of the playbook saying, like, watch this?
I mean, that's going to happen every now and again. It will. And a lot of times those things, you know, you work on them all week and they don't hit, you know, and it's the other stuff that works, right? And so, you know, it's just, you got to sprinkle some stuff in, and creativity is awesome. But there is a tipping point to where you could have too much of that stuff and it could go the other way, right? So that's just game planning weekly to figure out what that balance is.
We'll do a couple more.
You guys have success with scramble situations where Cam improvises, and I assume that that's worked on in practice. Is it part of organized practice, or is that stuff the kids do on their own?
We do have a scramble drill that we do, but since he's been here, when we go against our defense, it kind of organically happens at practice ever since we started spring practice. And the way we practice, we just let plays keep going. And so I do think that kids, you know, they pay attention. You know, I mean, it doesn't take long if you're a receiver or a tight end or a running back to figure out he's going to extend plays. So I better keep playing, right? And so I think the more that happens in practice situations, the more guys figure out, hey, like, look, this play could last 6 or 7 seconds. You know, I get my eyes on the quarterback, and wherever he's going, I got to go, right? And so there are some basic scramble rules that we try to adhere to, but a lot of times that gets thrown out, you know, because ultimately you're just trying to find open space in a direction that the quarterback is going. But they all do keep working, and I do think that's a product of just them playing together in the spring and him doing it a lot in practice, and us letting the play keep going, you know, which is awesome.
There's a play in the first quarter where you guys were backed up and they sent a blitzer and he hit Mark Fletcher in the backfield like clean. What happened on that play? Explain to, after watching the film, what happened on that play?
That's an interesting question that you ask about that play, actually. So they were man-free and at a 4-2 box, and so we were motioning a tight end across and just basically running split zone. And so that guy's defending the tight end, right? So he just took, and I would be interested to talk to him or their coach. I mean, he took a gamble, and he was trailing behind, so he knew that he was in trouble. So he just shot the B gap, you know. And so now you talk about run game a while ago. That's a very specific play you're talking about, where if that guy does his job, it's a very unsound thing to do in that particular defense they were running, right? That doesn't happen. But if he tracks the tight end, the ball's out the B gap for a big one, right? Or if we slip the tight end, the ball is out to the tight end for a big one because nobody's guarding him, right? So that's just one of those plays where defense took a gamble and it paid off. You know, we actually just didn't take advantage of a gamble that was taken. If any one of the other things would have happened on offense, we would have had a big play. But that specific gamble that kid took paid off because we handled it. You know, but it was nothing like we couldn't have blocked him in that situation. There wasn't anybody targeting him. He was the man player on the tight end. He should have been tracking over the top, but he took a gamble and ran through the B gap and made a play. Good play by that kid, really. If he recognized something in that play, that was a good play by him.
Xavier Restrepo, he's now a top 10 all-time at UM receiver, having a good season so far, great season last year. He hadn't done any of that when you got here. So what did you know about him when you got here, and how have you seen him grow since you arrived?
I mean, I think some people are natural fits for certain schemes. It was easy to see with him where he fit in our offense. You know, we've always kind of had a guy like that where you run a lot of option routes, you do a lot of things over the middle, a lot of the routes that he runs that are out breaking. I mean, guys like him get matched up against linebackers and safeties. They have good lateral mobility and they have good body control. And so when you first get to a place, you're kind of looking at bodies thinking about, okay, that guy looks like an X, that guy looks like this, that guy looks like that. And when they start making plays and moving around, you can kind of start filtering those guys into those spots because you're trying to figure out, okay, what is the identity of that kid, right? What's he good at, right? And so with Strep, it was easy to see that kid was an H. You know, I mean, he was an H in our offense, which for years you can go back in time and see like kind of who he's like, right? And so it just so happened that it was just a really good fit for him, and he has a really good skill set for what we ask him to do. And he does, I mean, he plays with a very, very, high motor. I mean, he strains very, very hard every play. If he's blocking, if he's running routes, if he doesn't get the ball. And so his effort really is the reason he gets open a lot, but his skill set and his ability to run those intermediate routes is really crucial for our offense.
And you mentioned like his body control. It seems like he's very good at just like stopping on a dime, making moves. Like, how often do you see a player come around who's able to do that? Like,
I don't know what Strep would run in the 40, but I know that like when he runs a route, he runs it fast. And when he stops and starts, he stops and starts fast. And if the ball is in his like cylinder, in his hands, in his whatever you want to call it, that he typically can like manipulate his body and make the catch, So those are all good things if you're a receiver.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach Dawson.
thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
We'll jump straight into questions for defensive coordinator Lance Guidry.
Coach, I want to ask you about Mish Powell, got the interception, late in the game for you. Just how big has he been for that defense, at that safety spot for you this season?
Yeah, I think he's played really well. He's graded out well each week. Tackles well. Seems to be always in the right spot. Kind of calms the storm. I've said it before. Came up big with an interception at a crucial time. So continue playing well. I think him and Harris are really playing well together.
Deani's another one that was really flashing the other night. He seemed to have a really good game. I mean, it was.
He did. Deani, he came out of fall camp with a little bit of a hamstring, and he's back healthy again. He was flying around out there, and he'll continue to get better. And his game means a lot to him. You can tell by the way he plays.
For you in that second half, kind of shut him out. What was the biggest adjustment or anything that kind of changed with the defense that allowed you guys to be successful?
Really, we didn't do too much things different, really. In the first half, they were doing some things where they was rubbing us and picking us, and so we started switching some things off with the motion coming across. It's like playing against basketball teams, right? So, if they got guys that shoot from three-point land, you can't play zone. You got to go play man because you got to take it away. With that, you're going to get screens. So are you going to switch and go over the top of the screen, or are you going to switch the screens off? So it was a little bit of that, a little bit of chess match. They kind of figured out what we were doing, and they countered, and then we had to counter back. And I think the biggest point was our D-line started to wear on their offensive linemen, and we started getting back to the quarterback, and I think that affected them. So we had a good game plan. They know what to go to when they see it, but a long time ago, a coach told me, if you took a formation, you draw it right down the middle. You got to have enough guys on this side to defend and enough guys on this side to defend. As soon as you don't have enough, they're going to get you in a run game. So it's the same thing the other night when they spread us out real wide. We had two guys covering, and we had a post safety, and everybody else was in the box because you just got to stop the run first. We knew they wanted to run the football. That's kind of where they start, so we just kind of had a bend but don't break mentality on the back end with some passing game. And we gave up 15 points, I wish we could have played a couple routes a little bit different, but the guys got a little tired, but I thought we put up a good effort.
To follow up on that, and just broadly, not about last Saturday, just broadly, is the whole notion of halftime adjustment, can it kind of be overstated sometimes? I mean, you're not waiting until halftime to make adjustments, you're making them on the fly now in this game. Is it more of a talking point than reality, or are there really, more often than not, true adjustments that get made during?
This is what I found. I've found out that through my years, this is just my experience, not anybody else's, but you look at film and you watch it, and you have a plan of how you're going to stop it. And when you come out to play against them, they're not going to do that. They're going to have something else. So you have to be able to fix the problems before halftime. If you fix the problems before halftime, they'll probably go back to the things you saw on film. If you haven't stopped the problems, then your job as a coordinator is to fix the problems at half because they're coming back to it. Once you fix the problem, they'll go back to what you've seen on film. And to me, that's where you make your money as a coordinator. You don't make it on the weekends. You have to be able to game plan, but you also have to be able to adjust in game and know exactly what to go to by what they're doing. And a lot of times that comes from experience of just seeing it. And to tell you the truth, my high school experience has probably helped me more than any of my college experience, because you start off defending option football, wing tee, empty. You see everything in high school. Everybody copycats, and you'll see one offense one week and you never see that offense again. So that's kind of where you cut your teeth, as a coach, I found. That's my track anyway.
Lance, with Ruben Bain, he obviously hasn't played the last 3 weeks, but we've seen him pregame working with Cole, some of the younger guys. Just his work ethic, his want to help you guys however he can, even when he doesn't play. Yeah. What does that mean to you?
Ruben's getting close, and Ruben's a good leader. He's very mature. I said it before, and he wants to get back, and he's seeing a lot of guys play, and when he gets back healthy, he'll be back in the mix like he's supposed to be, and I can't wait to get him back. I think he'll come back at the right time. When that is, I don't know, but he's getting closer and closer for sure.
Lance, what have you seen from the Virginia Tech offense?
They're dangerous. The quarterback's a really good athlete. He can throw it deep. He can also run. The running back, number 33, is really fast. He breaks tackles. He's a short guy, but he's really strong. And they have a wide receiver, 83, who can really run. So tight end, they involve him in a lot of the passing games. So they have 4 guys. They have more than that, but that's like the 4 focal points of their offense, I feel. And they do a lot of quarterback run stuff. So we'll be a little bit different this week because they present different problems. But, we're trying to work through that right now.
Does it help when, obviously, USF's quarterback's a dual threat guy, BT's quarterback's a dual threat guy? Does it help kind of stick with preparing for?
Nah, it's totally different. They're not a spread type offense like the Baylors of old. You know, they're more power read, a lot of motions involved, play action off of it. It's a different formation. It's a little bit tighter sets, not as open. So it's a little bit different strategy on offense. So we have to be a little different on defense.
Your communication in the secondary appears to be significantly better this year than in the past. Is that an accurate observation?
Yeah, system. I think they're familiar with the system. Even though Mish came in and had to learn the system, it was like something else he had learned. Of course, Harris was his second year in, Markeith, Porter. You know, corners don't have as much to learn as the safeties, but then you have the backers, you know, that's the brain trust as well. So we have more guys familiar with the defense than last year, and that plays into it. The first year is always tough because not only what you put in and installed, each week there might be a wrinkle, and sometimes that's tough. So right now I just think we know the defense a little bit better. So we're able to look at the offenses and really kind of diagnose what they're doing. Don't have to think about what we're doing as much.
Has it been as clean mentally as it's looked? I mean,
sometimes it's fooling, man. Sometimes you think, God, that was a great play, or God, he messed up. And that wasn't even it. It's kind of like the Harris play, you know, against Florida. Everybody thought he was wrong, but he was covering the man tight end. You know, our backer didn't come off the edge, so he looked like he made a mistake, but he didn't. So, you know, you look at every year, at the end of the year, you look at cut-ups, and you look at your calls that you made, and you try to find calls that look right, and there's always something wrong with a call. There's always they didn't, but that's defensive football. If you play hard, sometimes you're supposed to be in a gap, but the ball didn't go there, you get out of your gap and you run. I always say the ball's the issue, you know, and it's like that forever on defense. The guards will take you to a play, but you can't go until the running back goes there. So they just an indicator which way he should go. So.
You talked about how you've set a goal every game of getting a third quarter shutout. I think you've done that now in 3 or 4 games. Why do you feel like this group has been so good at executing that?
I think communication. I think we probably solve problems a little bit quicker on defense, and that's not just because of experience with our players or me. Our coaches also know what we're doing. And there's not a lot of times we have to meet together. You know, Jason knows exactly what we're going to do with the defensive front once we put the game plan in. D-Nick knows exactly what we're going to do at the linebacker position. And then he says, Lance, what if they do this? Can we tweak it like this? I said, yeah. Chevis has been with me before, so we know the defense better as a staff, which helps us on game day be able to change at an instant like that. JT said, Lance, how about this? Say, go with it. Let it play. So it's just kind of how we communicate now because we know they know what I want and what my vision is, and they work from within that. And plus their experience from being other places has also helped me as well, putting things into my system or our system.
Lance, I was looking just now, and you guys have, not still playing a season, but I think you guys improved by 12-13% on third down defense and getting teams off the field. Just, what do you see anything different from what you guys are doing last year? Is it just, you know, a better defense, a better communication that is working? What have you seen specifically on third down defense?
I think we're able to do a little bit more than we did last year, just from the personnel we have. Last week was probably our hardest. We got in a lot of third and mediums because of their tempo. I thought they had a really good third down plan against us. We were a little bit simpler on third and medium. The key is to get to third and long. Third and long, a little bit better. We gave up a big screen. We were supposed to be in a certain coverage, and we blew it, and which got them down there. But we ended up stopping that series. But I just think that, you know, we're able to do a little bit more, and we're able to communicate a little bit better this year. So we'll see down the stretch. We hadn't even gotten to conference play yet, you know. So it's our first one, and we need to play well.
You mentioned kind of a bend but don't break approach with the passing game a little bit against USF. Mm-hmm. Was some of that like the slot receiver having his success, playing a little off him?
Yeah, you know, when a guy moves, you can't press him. You know, that's slot receivers. That's why they put those guys. Sometimes you'll look at film and you say, oh, he can't get off a press. But sometimes if they feel like a guy can't get off a press, they'll back him off and let him be the motion guy where he won't get pressed. So he has more access to get releases. Guy was really good, you know. We was able to tackle him. I felt like it is going to get some plays, but if we got him down and made him restart again, eventually they would run out. And as you saw, once they got closer to the goal, it's kind of like they ran out of space and they didn't have nowhere to go no more. And it kept, you know, kind of drowning out on their series and kicking field goals. Guy hit every dang field goal, I think, seemed like. But, that was kind of our philosophy. Stop the run, keep the ball in front of us, and just tackle. And we knew it was going to go fast. But you cannot simulate that speed, and you can't simulate how tired you're going to be and when you're going to be able to get off the field, because you can only get off the field during a dead ball or when they switch personnel. So sometimes the D-line was looking aside. It wasn't for the calls. It was, coach, come get me. So it was fast, but I thought we did a good job. I really did. So playing those type of offenses, just like option, you can't simulate it until you get out there and get in a rhythm and start playing against it.
Seeing a guy like Miles Young come up with his first interception just because, walk on his awesome stories. How awesome is that for you?
It's awesome. I'm a former walk-on. Probably a lot of people don't know that. I walked on at McNeese in my second year. I was a starter. So I ended up starting 4 years, and I was a walk-on. So when a walk-on comes in a game and makes a play, I know exactly how it feels. So everybody was excited. You could tell how everybody was excited because that guy puts in a lot of work, and he's made plays at practice. So we was all excited for him. We really was.
I want to go back to something you said in the previous question. Sometimes, because the game was fast, sometimes he's out looking over for a call, he's looking over, come get me out of here. How often are you selectively missing somebody when they say that maybe you just leave them out and say, no, you got one more? Do you?
There's certain, if you have time to get a guy off, you get him off. But what they were doing, you can't get a guy off. You can't get him off until it's a dead ball or they throw the ball out of bounds on their sideline where they're supposed to stand over it. That was the only time you can get them off. So you got to kind of be stuck in those series. I think that's kind of within a program. Everybody used to have a big nose tackle, and now it's kind of because of the game, the way it's played. You don't need that big guy, or there's no reason for him because it's hard to get him off the field against a team like that. So there's really no place for him now. You need him against the 12 personnel teams and things like that. So, it's hard to get guys on and off sometime when they're going that fast.
Lance, obviously there's a push this week to pack Hard Rock Stadium. You guys have played so far in two, pretty loud road environments until they weren't. But how much do defenses feed off of that energy from the home crowd when they're being as loud as possible when the opposing offense is on the field?
I think it's always good when you're home. Of course, you want to play in front of big crowds, but you just play different at home. I think you play with more emotion on defense. You tend to play with a little bit more pep in your step. You tend to run harder to the football. We usually hear them on third downs is when, the crowd gets into it. It's always good. It's harder for us to communicate sometime on third down to make checks. But it's always good to play home, and it's good to play in front of a packed house. But I'm sure the more we win, they'll keep coming. We just got to do our part as coaches and players and just keep winning.
Anything else for Coach Guidry?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.